Hey guys and gals, we're back with the 2014 Aloha Clinic training videos, quarterback plays. And we've got a bunch of different sections and a bunch of different plays to cover. Probably going to take us about 30 minutes. So let's get started, and we're going to start with forward and backward passes and how to identify some of the characteristics in trying to get those calls correct. Forward or backward pass, play number one. Now this is a backward pass, and in full speed I think that most people would presume that as well. But when we break this down, we look for ways to tell whether it's forward or backward based on point to point. And I only use point to point when the person delivering the ball is stationary, because the National Federation rule is initial direction. So we have a stationary quarterback. Take the foot underneath his throwing arm, which is highlighted here, approximately the 33-yard line, maybe the 32.5. So that's the release point, and we've got marks on the field to help us with that. The first touch point on a stationary passer is the 31, so we know it's a backward pass. So this should be a live ball. When the ball falls to the ground after this receiver drops it, it falls forward. So it might confuse things for whoever the governing official is, but just know that that's a backward pass and a recovery by the defense. Forward or backward play number two. Now this one is much tighter, but let's use the same type of idea in trying to determine whether it's forward or backwards. First, at full speed, you can see that the wing official knocks it out as incomplete. Now let's go back and look at the foot in relation to the shoulder. He's throwing with his right hand. Where would his right foot normally be? It would be just about where that red line is. That's his release point. And the catch point, or the hit the ground point, is forward of that. And you can see the official immediately punches forward. He's a veteran, knows what he's doing. Correct call, incomplete pass because the ball hit the ground. Using point to point with a stationary thrower is probably the most accurate way to determine a forward or backward pass. Forward or backward play number three. Again, this is a pretty tight one, but we're going to use the same principles. Stationary thrower and a receiver out on the wing. This one was ruled a backward or lateral pass, incorrectly so by philosophy and, as you will see, physically. But we're going to watch it in slow motion from the sideline again, and we're going to focus on the quarterback's throwing arm as it relates to where his foot would normally be, and that's generally right outside the shoulder of that throwing arm. This still shot shows the right-handed quarterback with his body facing the sideline. His right foot, which would be normally right under his shoulder, would be placed just before the 25-yard line. We've got a start point. Now the end point is just beyond the 25-yard line. Now this one's easier than most because it's right on that big white line, but it's still a pretty tight pass. So by philosophy on these real tight ones, we're going to go incomplete. If we know for sure, we're going to punch it back. But in this case, we've got a start point on one side of the line and an end point or a touch point on the other side of the line. So we've got a factual situation where we've got a forward pass hits the ground, incomplete. Forward or backward play number four. This is a backward pass, initially ruled incomplete. So let's watch it in full speed first, and then we'll start marking it up like we have previously on these last three. Incomplete by the wing, and also duplicated by the referee. Now let's look at it point to point. Stationary quarterback, put the line right there where his left throwing arm, left foot would be at the 19, and the ball bounces on the other side of the big line at the 21-yard line and goes out of bounds where it's hit by a sideline guy, and it kind of bounces back in. So what I'm happy to report is that they got together with the official on the other side. They said, no, that is a backward pass, and they did mark the ball back and count the down and got the down correctly administered. So it was good job and good communication by the crew. Let's move into pass or fumble and play number five. This was ruled a fumble and correctly ruled a fumble. As the defender comes around, he gets to the ball, empty-handed the quarterback, and the referee blows the whistle, says it's dead and recovered by the offense. Now there's a great call for fumble and a real problem for blowing the whistle dead, because as you can see, the ball is not possessed. And if this is a fumble, that ball is live. As you watch again from the sideline, you'll see that the person who ultimately recovers the dead ball, which was loose, is not grounded and he's getting up and running. So it does create a lot of havoc. And don't forget, when you've got a lot of things going on as a referee and you're processing these past fumbles, that one of the key philosophies that we have is that we don't kill the play unless we know the status of the ball. Pass or fumble, play number 6. This one's a little bit different because it's not as clear an empty hand, but this is what we call a floater, or a ball that comes out of the hand and goes abnormally high and short. And you can see when we back this up that what causes the ball to do that is the defender's helmet as it hits the ball and propels it up. So this is an empty hand situation, and if you have a floater like that, 95% plus of the time it's going to be as a result of contact with the hand, helmet, or other body part of the defender, and it will be a fumble versus a pass. Pass or fumble, play number 7, is a little unusual because pass or fumble is a referee call all the way. And this loose ball, which was a fumble and recovered by the defense, is ruled incomplete prior to the recovery by the wing official. So we've got confusion all over the field. Just please let your associations and all of your crews know that it's an improper mechanic for anyone other than the referee in a 7 or under to rule that a ball was either fumbled or incomplete. Just leave it to the referee, and we can avoid having mistakes like this that ultimately cost a defense a great play and a change of possession. Pass or fumble, play number 8, again another unusual one, and you'll see them throughout your career, is the arm is moving forward, and I believe they ruled this incomplete, but this is not a pass. This is a quarterback who's moving the ball around to avoid having it contacted by the defense, and in doing so, this is a football act but not a throwing act, he loses possession of the ball. This is a fumble and not a throwing act or a throwing motion, and should be ruled so. Quarterback false starts is a very focused part of being a referee or in the referee position. Watch the quarterback. I had him highlighted there. He does a quick jerk and he draws the defense off, and the defense was charged by the wing officials, and properly so by their view, as encroachment. But the referee needs to recognize what the quarterback is doing, which is simulating a snap, probably in conjunction with a cadence, and causing the defense to encroach, which is a false start and not encroachment. Quarterback false start, this is the second example of it. Watch the quarterback who's highlighted here. Real quick jerk like that. That's a false start. He caused the defense to jump into the neutral zone through his actions that simulated a snap. Let's make these false starts, and referees, we're going to have to focus to get that. The last of the quarterback false starts is the toughest of all, and that's a quarterback under center, because you really can't see anything from back here. You have to be really paying attention to what's going on and watch the hand and watch the shoulder. And I understand it may be on the opposite side of the body, but if something like this happens, talk to your umpires, because this act right here is a false start and he's intentionally drawing the defense in for an encroachment foul. Play number 12, we're going to start intentional grounding. This first play is just a good example of what intentional grounding is from a very basic standpoint. I'll let that run through. But intentional grounding, as you move into different areas, becomes somewhat subjective, and it takes two people to call it, and sometimes those two different people have two different thoughts about it. So as we get more into the grounding section, we'll talk a little bit more about that and what constitutes grounding and what constitutes close enough to a receiver. But I figured this would be a good one to start out with.
Just even safety-wise, it's good. It's intentional grounding call.
From the spot of the throw, lost it down, 4th down.
Another grounding play, play number 13. And grounding is one of those rules that's considerably different in NFHS versus NCAA. NFHS just says you got to have a guy in the area. So it has nothing to do with the pocket, nothing to do with the line of scrimmage. Just got to have a guy in the area and believe that, it was a reasonable effort to get it to him. So here we have a play where the quarterback throws the ball from the end zone. So if this is grounding, it's going to be a safety. So let's take another look at it. We snap it from the 11. He's under heavy pressure, but he throws the ball somewhat unmolested. And he only gets the ball to about the 12-yard line. And the nearest receiver takes a while to come into about the 24. So I think this is a good case for intentional grounding because there was no one in the area. Grounding play number 14, I mentioned earlier, it's a two-person call. So this is a good example of that. Quarterback's under pressure. Again, that's one of the things that we use to determine whether or not we have intentional grounding. And as you can see, he's flushed out of the pocket, scrambles around. He's actually being grabbed and held by a defender. So when he throws it into an area unoccupied by a receiver, this official needs to go tell the referee so that he can immediately determine whether or not that ball came out in that area because he was hit or because he was grounding it. And that's what makes it a two-person call.
Intentional grounding on the offense. The loss of down, third down.
Play number 15, another grounding call. I like this as a no call, but it could be argued the other way as well. And that's why I said it's going to depend on who's out there and how you feel about it and whether you believe his intent was to ditch the ball. And an argument can be made for that. But the ball did get around the 31, 32-yard line, and you can see a foot in the upper right-hand corner there. That's an eligible receiver. So whether or not he was really trying to get it to him or not, to me, he's close enough. The last of the grounding plays I have, number 16, occurs in the end zone, and it was not called grounding. And there's a case for a lot of different things on this play. So we're going to break it down a little bit as we go. But once we start looking at this from in a slow motion aspect, you can see where the eligible receivers are. Was his progress stopped in the end zone? That's another question you have to say. Is he wrapped up there, or are we going to allow him to continue his arm motion forward? And then when he does throw it, he throws it to an ineligible receiver, number 70, who's currently at the 1, and catches it just outside the end zone, highlighted with the yellow arrow. The eligible receivers are in red, but I don't think the quarterback was really trying to get to either one of those. And I circled the referee because he was a little bit late getting to the goal line, and in this situation, we need to have that goal line covered. I realize we snapped it at the 6, but we need to be aware of the situation and that the referee is not going to be able to make any goal line judgments with any real accuracy on that kind of play. When all the dust settled, they decided on illegal touching, and they enforced the penalty, loss of down, so it would be 4th down. Just be careful now. That's a foul by A behind the basic spot, so it would be enforced from the spot of illegal touching.
Illegal touching, offense. After this is to the goal. Loss of down, 4th down.
With play 17, we're going to move into illegal forward passes. And there is a philosophy that you need 1 foot down, but the rule is actually if 1 foot is over the line prior to or during the pass, then it's a foul. Now this one we have a hard line, which is the 35-yard line, and the quarterback approaches it on the near side, and the umpire seems a little bit disoriented as far as where he needs to be on this play. But you can see number 58 is drifted too far downfield, and the rest of those guys are going too. When the quarterback does approach the line, I believe he does get the ball off without anything touching over the line for certain, and probably without the foot being over. But we do have an illegal man downfield, so really the only way to make this legal would be for the quarterback to run it. Because if he throws a pass beyond the line, it's illegal. And if he throws a pass from behind the line, it's illegal because he has illegal man downfield. Play 18, another illegal forward pass play, and this one truly is an illegal forward pass because it's snapped at the 11, and he releases the ball much closer to the 10, and he steps at least twice beyond the 11. What I like about this play from an enforcement standpoint is that when they originally enforced it as an illegal forward pass, they spotted the ball from the 11 to the 16-yard line. which would indicate that the penalty occurred at the 11, which would not be a penalty at all. The line judge, realizing this, comes in and says, no, we have to enforce that from the 10 to the 15 because it's showing that he was beyond the line of scrimmage, which is the proper thing to do, a very heads-up play by the line judge and a great crew-saving enforcement. Play number 19, illegal forward pass possibility. I don't think it is. We've got a hard line at the 45-yard line, and the play is going to move in our direction one time at full speed. And you can see, interestingly, that he was in the air when he released the ball. It looks like everything is behind the line. But remember we talked about a philosophy of a foot down in order to call it. This would be an exception to that philosophy. If you've got a player who is clearly all limbs airborne, and you move that guy up 1 full yard, then his whole body's over the line. You would not need a foot down in order to justify that. I like the use of philosophy, but there's always a time when you need to inject a little bit of common sense. That goes for rules, philosophies, and things that just come up that sometimes aren't covered by either. When it comes to illegal forward pass, you always have to be aware of what the down is. Now this is 3rd and 29, but if it's ever 4th down, you really have to be thinking because it's one of those plays that involves a loss of down. There's no question he's beyond the 15 where the ball is snapped. This is an illegal forward pass from the 17-yard line. So if this were 4th down, we'd move him back 5 yards from there to the 12, and the defense gets the ball. So because this is 3rd down, not so important. But the ball is intercepted, and Team B, very close to the line but stayed in, returns the ball to around the 23-yard line. And if this was 4th down, we would probably want to take the penalty and put the ball at the 12 and give the ball to B instead of giving the ball to B where they returned it at the A23. So there's things that you need to consider when you deal with fouls that incorporate a loss of down into their penalty. Play 21, the last of the illegal forward pass plays, involves 2 forward passes. And don't forget that that little forward pitch, either underhand, overhand, shuffle, behind your back, as long as it's airborne forward, that's a pass. So that first shuffle right here where the quarterback does that little pitch, that's 1 forward pass. This is a 2nd forward pass. And the spot of enforcement is from the spot of the 2nd forward pass because that's a foul by A behind the basic spot. So let's take a look at this in slow motion. Just make sure we understand. Pitch, 1 forward pass. There's a backward pass, no problem there. Number 3 sets up, heaves the 2nd forward pass. That's the spot of enforcement from A's 39. We're going to take it to A's 34, and it also incorporates a loss of down. Play number 22 and a few beyond that, we're going to talk about some mechanics. And this first one involves a snap over the head of the quarterback. And I've got a play that follows this up. It's a snap over the head of a punter, but it kind of falls into the same category. If this is a very unusual situation, it doesn't happen that often. And then when it involves the end zone, it's even more rare. But if we have a snap over the head of the quarterback or the punter, we want the official on the opposite side of the referee to move downfield almost immediately to help cover the play and to keep it triangulated. If we have the official on the near side of the field go back downfield, then they start to get a little bit in the same vicinity as where the referee is being forced into. So we want the head linesman, who's opposite of the referee, get downfield, keep the triangle view open. Now, normally what would happen on a play like this is the guy would scoop it up, he'd turn the corner, and he'd run 10 or 15 yards up. If he would have been able to do that, then we'd have 2 officials standing just about in the same spot with the same view, and we turn our 5-man mechanic into a 4-man mechanic, or our 7 into a 6. So just remember, opposite official slides back, near official stays more stationary to complete the differential view of the play. Play 23, as advertised, it's a snap over the head of the punter. Came in a little late with this video. That's as early as I could catch it. But you can see the referees on the far side. So we want the near wing official to slide down the field and help keep that coverage. They did it a little bit opposite. The far wing official went back. This is also a 7-man mechanic, but it works in 5 or 7. But in a 7, when we have the deep wing, we don't want the deep wing coming up. The deep wing needs to stay back. So when you watch this punter actually get the ball off, which is pretty fortunate on a snap like that, you can see the deep wing is actually walking toward the ball, and then it bounces beyond him and he has to walk back. So we don't want that. So let's recap this. The referee angles away from the oversnap. The near side or opposite of the referee official will then go down and cover, and then the head linesman will be in a more stationary position, and they keep the players triangulated with a view of, well, maximum effective view of all of the players. Play 24 is another mechanic. It's what I call progress stopped by rollover backward. You can see that the quarterback gets hit, he rolls over the defender who is tackling him, but nothing ever touches the ground other than his feet. So technically he's not down. But progress is stopped. Defenders definitely relax on this because they know they've pulled him to the ground. Even though no body part has touched, forward progress is stopped. And it's a proper mechanic for the referee to go ahead and stop this even though no other body part touched. Now the opposite is true if it's a rollover forward because progress is not stopped. And those are the plays that you will see continue. Play number 25 has to do with referees on the end line when you're in a reverse goal line mechanic. And you can see the ball's being snapped from the 2, the goal line's in red. We need the referee to move further away than he normally does because there's no retreat path and you have to maintain the end line. So as this play is snapped, you can see he quickly gets pressured off of the end line and then out of position. Rules this as safety, and it's a tight play. There's no doubt about that. Whether the guy stepped on the line or whether his foot came down before he released the ball, we don't have replay in high school. I mean, it's just one of those calls that you have to make. But you're handicapping yourself if you do not allow yourself to maintain an end line position. And the only way you can do that when your field is compressed to 12 yards is to move further away from the play so that if he does dart at you, you still have some room to work with and have a clear vision of the end line. Play 26 starts the last section of this video, and that's roughing the passer. So on this play, the quarterback rolls out. We're going to lose vision of the passer here. You can see that he throws the long one, almost complete for a touchdown, but incomplete. But let's watch the pursuit of number 42. Passer lets go, forceful shove in the back, and the quarterback ends up going to the ground. This is completely unnecessary. The quarterback is in his vision, he can see it. The defender is obligated to let up, and he does not do that. That's roughing the passer. Play number 27. This is a little bit different. We've got a quarterback who throws a lob fade, stationary in the pocket with his back to an oncoming defender. You can see the contact kind of here, but the money shot is the one coming up next. And this shows that it is roughing the passer, and you've got some helmet issues there as well.
Take him to
Roughing
the
the
ground.
passer on the offense. Pass the distance to the goal. First down.
Play number 28, roughing the passer, was called, and I believe accurately so. The contact did happen fairly quick after the quarterback released the ball, but you'll see when we get on this end zone shot, the defender who comes in on him is lined up right there on the end, and he takes the corner, and he's got a clear view of the quarterback as well. He's also obligated to let up when he realizes the pass is away, and instead he decides to jam his face mask and helmet into the middle back of the quarterback. That's a deliberate act and roughing the passer.
Oh, no.
The next two plays, 29 and 30, are not roughing the passer because there is no passer. And some guys are getting a little confused with that rule about fouls against quarterbacks. Quarterbacks are quarterbacks by position, and they're passers by act. And this quarterback is grabbed and thrown to the ground, and inaccurately, this is called roughing the passer.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, defense, 15-yard penalty, first down.
My first thought after hearing that announcement was, where are all the other officials on the field coming in and saying there was no pass? I mean, if you're at a stadium where you've got a speaker and a microphone and you announce roughing the passer on a play where there was no pass, I would expect the other officials to step up and bail him out. The last play I have is a quarterback who slides. So he's not a passer, he's tucking and running, but he is a defenseless player because he slides early enough to get that protection. This was called on the field as an illegal helmet hit, and correctly so, now called targeting. And you can see that the defender illegally tracks, and you'll hear that terminology in my helmet video I just produced, and he tracks him down, hits him on the side of the head, which slams the quarterback's head into the turf, where he could have easily jumped over the quarterback or tagged him down. This is a DQ consideration type hit. Well, that's it, and I can't believe it's gone almost 30 minutes, but it's been a while since I've done a quarterback type video, so I wanted to get some points across. Hopefully this helps you this season. Wish you all the very best of luck.
I would be honored if you played football for this team.
Me? Play football?
Yes.
Thanks, but no thanks, Coach. My mama wouldn't let me play no football.
We're gonna go home. You and I, we're gonna talk to Mama.
Mama said that, my mama said that, my mama said that,
She couldn't
my mama
say
said
yes.
that,